Welcome, everyone. This is Joe Dagger, the host of the Business 901 podcast. With me today is Lisa Bodell. She is an award-winning author and CEO of FutureThink. As a futurist and expert on the topic of change, she serves as a global council member of the World Economic Forum and has helped thousands of senior leaders ignite innovation at Bloomberg, Pfizer, Lockheed Martin, and many others. Her new book is Why Simple Wins. Is the book a checklist type thing? You know, is there a process, or is it a closet tamers type thing? Put it here, put it here. What is it? Tell me what's in it.
It's so funny because everyone said you're like the Marie Kondo of business, who wrote the book, right, about it was more of a closet organizing type of simplification. So to me, I wrote this book for leaders, but also for individuals that wanted to get stuff done. And the idea was there is a process in terms of how you go about simplifying. But then there's also very specific tactics you can start to use. In fact, there's a whole chapter dedicated to tools for simplifying so people can actually start making it happen, right? I mean, the idea is get going right now. So the process to me is, first, you have to define what you want simplification to do for your company. Because some people view it only as an efficiency effort, but I view it as a cultural and ethical one. And we can talk a little bit about that. But defining what it is and where it'll take you is very important, because people need a vision and they need clarity. The second thing is defining it. And this is where most companies fall down. And we spent a lot of time defining simplification in the book, because if you ask people to define simplification, very few of them can give you a concise answer. That's a problem. So we spend a lot of time helping people understand the definition of simplicity, which is minimizing, understanding, repeating, and making it accessible, by the way. Most people think simplification is just minimizing, and it's a little bit more than that. And then after that, we have people talk about the behaviors or the code of conduct that we want them to create for themselves and for their team, because that gives permission and it makes people agree to that golden rule of how we'll use each other's time, right? And then finally, we give them the tactics and the tools. How do you actually kill complexity? How do you teach them how to kill stupid rules? How do you get them to ask killer questions so they understand how to make things simpler, how to make them more valuable, how to make them more minimal? And it goes on and on. So it's this combination of the theory and the definition, and then a whole section devoted just to the tools and tactics to start getting things done right now. And they're very quick win things they can do, like killing stupid rules, for example. That's a quick win people can do within an hour coming right out of this podcast.
Yeah, and what I loved about your book is that you did provide that definition. A lean guy, right? I want to define the current state, okay, yep, where I'm at. And you allow for that. But then you bring one of those great lean words in there, is gap, okay? Is you look at a gap and how to go from here to there. And,
right,
from what to what by when. And so many of us forget that that's something that we have to do, right?
Yeah, and what I love about what you said, the gap for me is between mundane and meaningful. And so that's very lofty and pithy. But the idea is, think about this. People say that they spend their time doing mundane stuff, right? And they wish they could do meaningful things. Well, here's the thing as a leader, and I mean this well for me, leaders, when I wrote this book. I know their challenge is to get people to stop doing mundane work, or for leaders to stop making them do mundane work. But also it's helping them define what meaningful work is, because most people can't tell you what that means. So we have people, when they start, I'll tell you one exercise I love, to draw a T-chart. And on the left-hand side, we say, tell us what you spend your day doing. And you have to let them do this in private, by the way, because if you have them do it in public, they'll fill their things with what makes them look good, right? Everyone says they do, valuable things all day, but they don't. They're drowning in meetings and emails and reports. So you have them write down all the things that they spend their time doing. Then you ask them to circle the things that they think really are valuable in terms of individual fulfillment or driving the business forward. And what they find is they circle very few things. And of the things that are circled, that helps them define what is so valuable about them. What makes valuable work? Why aren't you spending more time on those things, right? There's the gap. And then on the right-hand column, we say, what do you wish you were spending your time on? So we start to define, what do you wish for? What's meaningful? What holds them back is the gap. And then how can we help them eliminate the things that they didn't circle to get to that right-hand column? The whole book is about subtracting. It's a subtractive process, not an additive. And that's very cathartic for people.
Yeah, and I think that's great, and especially in my world of sales and marketing, because so many of us always, we jump into what we're going to do in the future. But if you do that what you just described, it's a great way to sit there and talk to your salespeople. You know, what a great conversation for a sales manager to have, right?
Yeah, well, people love to-do lists. My question is, what's on the list? You know, I mean, to-do lists are great, and I'm sure I'm really good at making a list. I bet everyone on this podcast is too, and can check off a list like nobody's business, right? But I don't know, at the end of the day, did you get anything done that really moved the needle forward? I mean, that's the problem. That's the cycle and this complexity trap that we get into is, I'm doing all this work. Why don't I feel like I'm getting anything done? Right? That's a very compelling thing to think about. And it's because you're doing mundane stuff, not meaningful. So we have to define, well, individually, as well as for a team or a business, what is meaningful work and what is holding us back from getting to it. And that's what the tools are designed to do. Get rid of the stuff that's not working so you make the space for things that are meaningful.
Can I go too far with simplification?
Yeah.
Can I make it too simple? I mean, Edison had a saying like that, or Einstein, I forget who.
Right. Make it so but simpler and nothing more, and not anything more. Well, what's interesting about simplification when we were doing the definition, right? This was, and by the way, that was one of the hardest things to do in the book, because I had a lot of people define simplicity, and it was so complex, it made me want to just bang my head against a table. So the idea of MURA, M-U-R-A, minimal, understandable, repeatable, accessible, that's your core definition. But the problem is people then, they minimize things too much, or they make things so repeatable there's no room for it to have any genius left in it. So my example I use is IKEA instructions, right? That's a great example of, they're so simple they need to come with marriage counseling. There's no way you're not going to have a fight after you get an IKEA instruction book, because it's so simple you can't even understand it. You know, another example I give is there's a lot of lawyers that want to get their contracts down. GE did this. They want to get their contracts down from 100 pages to 1. Well, that's a noble cause, right? Be extreme about it. Get it down to 1 page. The problem is when they get it down to 1 page, they have to spend so much time explaining it that they might as well have only got it down to 10 pages, which still is a 90% improvement, right? And it's understandable for people versus the 1 page. So you can overdo it. It's knowing your boundaries.
What is upcoming for you, and what's the best way for someone to get a hold of you?
So 2 things that are upcoming. One is we just launched the toolkit that goes separately with the book. FYI, it's also on Amazon. But I really believe in the practicality, and I want to give people the tools so they can get the toolkit that comes with the book. That just launched, so we're excited about that. And then the next thing is we're launching our course that goes with it. So, you know, people sometimes, they're not self-starters. They want to have that kickstart. So we're launching these half-day, full-day programs that actually ignite the tools in the book so then people can take them back to their teams, and that'll roll out next year. You can please contact me. I am at Lisa Bodell on Twitter. Our website is futurethink.com. And you can contact me email-wise at innovate@futurethink.com. And that'll get to me, and I'm happy to answer questions all day long about simplification. I'm passionate about it.
Enjoyed the book tremendously. Like I've said earlier, it's one of the better books on simplification I've read. So I congratulate you on that.
Huge compliment, really huge compliment, because I know your background, and if I can please the folks like this, like yourself and the others on this podcast, I feel like that's a personal win. So thank you very much.
Well, this podcast will be available in the Business 901 iTunes store and the Business 901 blog site. So I would like to thank everyone for listening, and thank you, Lisa.
Thank you very much.